Welcome back to another episode of the Black Cinema Experience podcast. I'm your girl, JB.
And I'm Cameron.
And today we have an exciting, chilling, bone thrilling, appetizing,
Illuminating.
blackety black. We have a wonderful movie for your entertainment today. So we're going to be talking about They Cloned Tyrone. Cameron, give us a little synopsis, a little taste of what the movie's about.
Absolutely. They Cloned Tyrone. It's a sci-fi, got a little bit of mystery in there, a little bit of thriller in there. But it's about a drug dealer named Fontaine who has an unusual occurrence because he ends up getting killed but coming back to life. So there's a see, I can't explain it. See,
like a Lazarus effect? It's rising again?
I mean, I don't want to spoil it, but, he gets killed. He comes back to life, and him and an unlikely bunch of friends find out find out why he come back to life, and ultimately end up unraveling like a opening a way bigger can of worms.
I like the way that you summarized this movie. I really like the way you summarized it. I'm going to summarize it differently. Oh my God, here I am. I didn't know I was going to do this. I didn't even know. That's why I wanted you to summarize it.
It's totally fine.
To help me find my footing.
You have a better way of putting it into words.
I'm just going to take everything you said and just put a different spin. Love what you said. So what he said, it's a sci-fi movie. We're dealing with some things that we can't really explain. Like, we don't really know what year we're in because you got people who look like they're 70s pimps, and you got people who look like they're 2020 street hustlers, like everyday people. So you have this weird combination of things. There's all these weird aspects. I mean, you got them driving old school cutlasses, but they got cell phones.
It's like a time warp.
It really is. It's a time warp for real because we're covering all spans of ages and generations. And it's an interesting concept. So essentially the movie's about them. I guess it's low-key political. So if you're into that type of thing, would you say it's political?
And it's political, and I love every ounce of it.
Yeah, I think it's political. My brain starts to explode when I get too political. I'm like, but it was very much so giving. We want to change the world. We want to call out systematic oppression. We want to, let y'all know that we're tired of being a cog in the system, and we're aware of how we're a cog in the system. So I think this movie is calling that out. It's making I think they're trying to make a statement to Black people, like, wake up, y'all, stop playing the part that they expect you to play. That was kind of the vibe I got.
I say yes.
Yeah, but I like how your synopsis worked. I mean, it really.
Well, I wanted to give it, tell you about the movie, but not give it too much away because I want to talk about it.
Yeah.
As we go through the show.
Yeah, but for the spoiler alert people, if you haven't watched it, you probably should click off now because there's going to be a lot of spoils in this podcast. Yes. I'm not going to hold back. We have to talk about why this movie was excellent, why it's a rare film for its time, why it's going to be legendary one day, probably one of those movies that film students study, I'm sure, to understand all types of shit. Yeah.
Definitely. But so where do you want to start? We want to start about just the technicality of the film?
Yeah, let's start off on how it's going to educate these white people.
Let's jump right on into it.
I want to talk about how it's going to educate them because they're not going to get it the first time. I didn't get it the first time, not everything. I had to watch it twice. Then I had to watch it a third time because I still didn't get everything. So it's going to educate white people, hopefully to let them know. Well, what exactly do we want to let them know?
I think it wants to let them know a lot of things, not just white people, but people in general. So the concept of it being a sci-fi, I thought was perfect for. I feel like it's the perfect way to bring up such topics as like Black liberation or like systematic oppression, or because they use the object of mind control. That's something usually conspiracy. Like they're like, oh, people are trying to. You've probably heard of like MK Ultra, just all these different conspiracy theories, about mind control. So them incorporating that into this film really given, obviously that edge, and also made it very political because you're always talking about something that's really political. But I feel like it was just such a perfect way to convey that message ultimately. So by them essentially controlling Black people through the use of chemicals and
Mm-hmm.
religion and other various forms of quote unquote oppression to alter their minds. It wasn't to really, you know, ultimately it doomed black people to, to repeat cycle of violence,
Yeah.
promiscuity, these different
It was
things.
set to control them.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it was just like I can't explain it in, like, I can't give it enough credit of like how well it was done.
Yeah. I think that there's something to be said about the sci-fi
Mhm.
aspect of it all. So essentially, sorry. Essentially, this movie is about pimps, hoes,
Drug
and
dealer.
violence,
Mhm.
right? On the streets. So essentially you're seeing what you would normally see in a stereotypical black film.
Mhm.
I thought this would be a really cool movie to talk about just because we always talk about how we don't want to see the stereotypical black story.
Mhm.
So they took a very stereotypical situation
Mhm.
with a bad guy, they give us a hoe, they give us somebody who owes somebody some money, and that's
Mhm.
how they make the movie. But they add the sci-fi element in there, which is again not knowing what time,
Mhm.
people being brainwashed, there being some mystery that they have to find out, like
Yeah.
Scooby Doo and Velma and them.
Exactly.
You know what I'm
Underground
saying?
laboratories.
Yeah,
Like, chemical warfare.
they gave us something that we don't usually get. So in Black people stories, what I watch on TV, it's always all of this trauma.
Mhm.
It's trauma porn. It's like,
Mhm.
oh, woe is them, sad them.
Mhm.
But in this story, it was almost like we reclaimed these negative hood stereotypes,
Mhm.
and then we were able to like make good of it.
Mhm.
So she wasn't a hoe. She was a feisty little detective girl who did what she had to do.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't stop until she got to the bottom of
Mhm.
it. And like it just was kind of reclaiming all these negative titles that I think that stereotypically we grew up and we accepted, like
Mhm.
the purple drink and the hair perms and just all these little things that they were
Mhm.
using to
Fried
affect
chicken.
us. It was us. When I watched this film, I just felt like Black people were reclaiming things
Mhm.
that are looked at negatively or stereotypically bad.
Mhm.
So yeah, I was impressed by their grace in doing that.
And I also, we talked about it earlier, but I do appreciate that too, because in a sense it's not necessarily saying that what they did was wrong, but it's a way for them to be able to vindicate themselves. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we know these things happen in our community, but seeing them, take a turn to be the things that actually liberate us from, like, liberate the community, because they obviously learn from their mistakes, quote unquote, had, that come to Jesus moment.
Yeah.
But like, to where like what I was doing was keeping us down, so now we're gonna reverse it and make it, help us bring us to our liberation,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought was like
Right.
such a good, like, who would have thunk?
The keeping us down part, right?
Hmm.
And like the fact again, I'm gonna say this a lot, cogs in the system,
Hmm.
right? They were really putting some emphasis on the fact that you guys don't even know what you're doing or why you're doing it.
Yeah.
You just do it. And there's something to be said about a lot of brainless activity that does happen,
Hmm.
you know, in our
Hmm.
communities. Where it's like, okay, are we thinking before we
Hmm.
act here, or are we just waking up doing the same shit every day? Like
Hmm.
he was so brainless, even as a clone,
Hmm.
that he didn't we never saw his mother, but he
Yeah.
always checked on her. Like
Yeah.
that's not weird. You're not catching this. Like
Hmm.
there's these weird little moments where I'm just like brainless activities
Hmm.
happening.
Well, like they did it with multiple scenes, which I like how they like re-emphasized it. So the first one where we really got it was when they were laughing, everybody was eating chicken,
Mm-hmm.
and like usually my thing is like the whole thing when Black people go out, usually it's like, oh, it's loud, it's ghetto, it's rambunctious,
Mm-hmm.
and it's usually like a negative thing. But they noticed like when they were all laughing, everybody's having a good time, like joking, eating the chicken, and then Jimmy Foxx's character, he looking, he's like,
He said, "You don't never
laugh.
laugh."
Exactly. I ain't
Wait,
never
I
seen you
ain't never
laugh.
seen you laugh. No, that was funny. That made his laughing that much
Exactly,
funnier.
exactly. He was like laughing. He was like, "I never seen you laugh." Then he came to the conclusion, "Wait, I've never seen her laugh." And
Nah.
because, well, you think about her life, she's a prostitute,
Yeah, but he was talking about him,
Yeah,
Fontaine.
that's what I'm saying. But
Yeah.
like, and that's what I'm saying. These people who are so rigid and like cruel are
Mm-hmm.
having a good time. He's like, "What is
Mm-hmm.
that's
Something's up.
something?" But that was the first scene.
Niggas stay suspicious.
Exactly.
This movie was so funny
But
for that reason.
but
Like,
even in the church scene, when everybody
yeah.
started playing "Back That Ass Up,"
Mm-hmm.
but it was like in the church chord progressions, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody they were in church like something's not right. And then the strip club scene when they're playing the music and everybody's just dancing, and he's like spinning, going around circles.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like they
They were
kept
realizing that they were being brainwashed.
yes the whole
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. I love the way they tied everything
Hmm.
into this movie together in that way. They were like, we really want to make sure that you're understanding what's happening here. So
Mhm.
let's use multiple examples. They're not just doing it to our chicken. They're not just doing it to our perms. They're not just doing it at the church,
Mhm.
or they're really doing it in everything.
It's
They're like,
everything.
look at how these systems are in place for you to think that these things are normal.
Mhm.
And the whole fact that he basically told Coco, right? I call her Coco. Oh my gosh.
Mhm. Yo-yo.
Tayona.
Yeah.
Okay. Tayona.
Tana
Tayona.
Paris, exactly.
Okay. Tayona.
Yeah, you.
The fact that he told her, though, he was like, "Oh, you're a diamond dozen. Like, these guys are expensive."
Yeah.
It's like, that was one of those moments where I was like, he just said it right there. The government, yeah, they don't mind keeping pimps on the street. They don't mind keeping people out there that are doing crimes on the street. It makes them money. Like, they're expensive. That's the investment. Like, I'm making sure these people stay out so I can keep these systems in place, so I can keep these communities oppressed. Like, it was so political. I hate political things. Ugh. But it was a good political movie. Like, it made its point, but it also let us lay back on the fact that it's sci-fi. So we didn't have to wake up and like carry the burden of the movie. Like, if it's, I don't know, other movies don't have the same grace and let us play along and then let us leave that world.
Yeah.
The movie's over. And this movie, having that little tap into that sci-fi connection, let us come and tap into this universe where, oh, there's some injustices, and then we can pop back out like everybody else.
Yeah.
I know that's a weird thing to say.
Well, I think that also for me, it made it where I feel like I kind of had to sit with it because it did hit kind of close to home, but then the sci-fi kind of eases it up because the fact that we have clones, the fact that we have people coming back, from the dead. Essentially, it's like kind of like you can kind of detach at that point, like you said. But I feel like you do sit with it for a minute because you're like, yeah, this is.
But I wanted so bad for us to have a sci-fi genre, and I'm so happy to see us actually in that realm. And for Black people, sorry, this is my opinion only. My opinion only. Other people may not agree with this. But for Black people, it needs to be believable. And as we enter this new genre, to enter in this world and reclaim stereotypes, I just thought that whole concept was really cool. Like, we're just going to reclaim everything. And then the people that they had in this movie, again, there was no set location. So you had niggas that talk like Detroit niggas, Atlanta niggas, Texas niggas, Cali niggas, New York niggas. It was niggas from everywhere in this film. And they all had something to say in their own little way. Like, that was top tier. That little last 5 minutes of just news anchor reels of the people talking in the background.
Hilarious.
That
no, it's
so
funny.
Thoughtful.
It's funny that you brought that up because I had brought up during our conversation that I also would like to see. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I love that they had the comedy aspect to it, but I would also like this. I would imagine how this movie would have turned out had they actually like done like a serious like sci-fi movie. Like, do you feel like it would have changed it, or do you still feel like it would have been as good? Still?
I think we're just getting our feet wet into this genre, and just like how so like when I watch Guardians of the Galaxy, right? I need there to be a certain amount of comedy to keep me engaged in this, because sci-fi is fun, but it's more fun when it's funny. So I don't want them to take the comedy out of anything that we do. So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying Guardians of the Galaxy is great because it makes me laugh. The ones that don't make me laugh, I don't reference. You know what I mean? Those serious ones, they don't do anything for me. I need to be able to laugh so I can have a connection with it. Like, oh, like things literally went over his head. Like, I need that connection to the material. I need it to be funny.
Well, the reason why I do think it works, obviously, for Black people, because Black people can't take anything seriously. Now, I don't mean to make a generalization, but it's hilarious, like how
making beats together. They're making fun of this nigga. I'm like, yo, y'all are wild.
Exactly.
That's us.
So I do love that aspect, but I'm just saying because me and just also for regular film lovers all over, like, but you have like your Dunes, you have like your Hunger Games. So I feel like it can be done. But I'm not downplaying because I think the movie was done wonderfully. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. The parts that were funny were hilarious because they were just so believable, like what stuff Black people would do, especially hood Black people. Like, it was just so spot on. But I do want to see like where we can take this genre as far as taking sci-fi and then still be able to convey those messages, but in a more serious tone.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, we could see a more serious tone, but like, I'm having fun.
But it is fun. I do agree.
We just got the door open. So like, let me just get our feet in first before you start to get all Star Trek on me. But I do hear you.
Mhm.
It could. It's going to keep getting more and more expansive. I
Mhm.
mean, because when we got Lovecraft,
Mhm.
however we got it with whatever white hands that touched
Exactly.
it, we were in the sci-fi realm.
Mhm.
And once we got in there, I mean, a whole can of worms opened up for
Mhm.
Black people and for Black writers
Absolutely.
everywhere. We finally saw that they do want to hear these stories in our color.
Mhm.
So I mean, I'm happy this film exists. Really, the comedy behind it, though, oh, it was so good. But let's talk about the acting.
Yeah.
Favorite actor from this?
Favorite, I mean, it's really hard. I feel like they had some heavy hitters. They had Jamie Foxx, David Allen Greer, hilarious, like playing the preacher, like just hilarious stuff.
I love that you brought those ones.
Tiana Paris. I know I'm saying because first of all, because I'm saving Tiana Paris for last because this is just the love of my life. Like I love her so much. I loved her in just so many movies. I'm
not surprised.
I'm happy. No, I'm saying. Well, no, I'm happy because she's gonna be in WandaVision, and I'm like, you know,
she's excellent.
Well, she was in WandaVision, but she's gonna be like one of the Marvel
she's gonna
superheroes.
Be a superhero, yeah.
Like I loved her in Dear White People. Just so many different. And Candyman, like she acted the house down boots. So
yeah, she's good and she's beautiful.
So I mean, I feel like it's not. That's just like a. For me, it's a given.
I don't want her to get typecast. It's so weird thinking about her as an actress. When I think about her, I think about the woman that plays Tasha on Why Did I Get Married? And everything she's in following that movie, she's the loud Black woman who's gonna get her way. And I don't want that to happen to our young Black actresses. I don't want them to have to fight through the typecasting thing.
But do you think?
Look shocked
No,
like
but I'm saying, but do you think she's been typecast? I feel like she's been given great depth of like range in her acting.
Really?
Like,
or is she the one Black girl?
Well, I mean, who
has to act like a Black girl? Who has to act like what they expect?
Well, you can definitely say
walks
that
into the house. Oh, this is nice. How many bedrooms is this? Like she's typecast.
Yeah, I don't think so because I feel like that's not the character she gave in Candyman. I feel like she gave very like intellectual. Okay. Definitely like shyer. And I won't say mentally unstable, but like still very emotionally like raw in Candyman. Yeah. And I feel like in other different, like when she gave us like preppy, like bougie in Dear White People, the movie, the original movie, not the show. We have wonderful other actors in the show. Yes. But in the actual movie.
In that she was the same character essentially. Like she was just too much. She was just too much.
And then and wasn't she? What's her name in the movie with Nick Cannon? I forget the name of the movie, but Nick Cannon was in the movie. She played like the love interest. There's a movie with Nick Cannon. He's like this like big time like like gangster. He's like a gangster like
Nick Cannon, a gangster.
Yes, I'm gonna link it in the video, so make sure you watch because I'm gonna remember the name of the movie.
Promises you can't.
I'm keeping his promise. Okay. But it was a movie with Nick Cannon, and she played like his like love interest, like his main woman, you know. So in my defense, I'm just saying I think she's a great actress, but I understand what you're saying as far as you don't want Black actresses to be typecast because when like, Black people are in majority, you know, white movies or in another movie, they have to be all Black people.
Regina King said it in an interview that she was doing on A Sip with Issa. She was saying how, you know, in the beginning she was getting roles like, you know, Friday and stuff like that, where she always had to play this ghetto girl, and she had to break she had to keep taking Poetic Justice, right? She had to keep taking these roles until she was able to break out of that. And what I'm saying is, I don't want Black women to be forced into that when they're acting. I don't want them to only have that layer because we're so multifaceted. I don't even like them portraying that personality because I don't really see that. You know, I don't see Tasha Max out. Tasha Max, that one works too. I was thinking about Tasha from How to Get Married, but I don't see that out. I don't see those women everywhere. You know, like they do exist, sure, but it's just not the stereotype that we want to keep perpetrating. That Black women are out here just being loud and disrespecting our men, and we just wild. You know, like I just don't. I don't. She was still a hoe in the movie.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but like you said, but that had to be part of like what they were trying to convey. But her being a hoe, she was the next. But that's one thing they really compared her to Nancy Drew, like being somebody who literally was a detective, and she's the one that literally she really
it.
reclaimed her time, but also
Period.
her role, because she was one of the main reasons why they were able to break out, and Tyrone was able to realize, because even when Tyrone didn't want to, not Tyrone, it was Fontaine at the time, but it's Tyrone, but you understand at the end. Even when exactly, even when Fontaine was he didn't want to do it. He's like, I'm gonna go back to regular. I don't want to deal with this stuff. She was still fighting, and she's the one to put the master plan into motion.
Yeah.
So
yes, you did.
I
Yes,
feel
you
like
did. She was important, and again, I say the reclaim, because this movie, instead of it being the typical trope of the stereotypical drug and pimp and hoe situation, they reclaimed all of that. They were like, nah, these are going to be the heroes of our story, because they're going to be the ones calling out the systems in place that allow this cycle to keep being perpetuated. So I love the fact that they did it. They did it. They really, and they did it so gracefully. Wow, to tie in sci-fi and reality like that, and then to also find a way to blame the white man. That's what it's really.
But that's what I was gonna say. I'm so glad you said that. Oh my goodness, it's like we're like on the same wavelength, because I was gonna say, how do you feel about the movie? Like essentially saying that all white people are the enemy.
Yeah.
Like literally. I mean, because
for years and years we've heard of his tales. The white man always prevails.
No, literally. What does it say? You go straight. You go something. They're saying in the movie. I forgot the quote. He said, "If you go straight, you go." I can't remember the quote, but they were talking about straightened hair, because white people have straight hair. But in this movie, the white people had afros. Remember?
And the boxes for the purse.
Yeah. I can't.
If you go straight,
we're gonna say you enter the gate. I don't know, something like that. So it was something like cliche, that. But it was like those phrases that a lot of black people grew up with, like assimilating to whiteness. Like, oh, don't be a girl. If you don't have your hair nappy like that, you can't go out looking like this. So like seeing all those stereotypes perpetuated, but also like white people really being like the main culprits. Like, how did you feel? Like, how did that make you feel?
Were white people the main culprits?
They were,
or was it the original old ass him?
Well, okay,
that was like he was sitting there like, oh yeah, that's where I got a lot mixed up. I was like, I don't know what's going on.
Okay.
So he was up there and he was like, yeah, I created all of y'all, and I basically gave them the formula, the white people, that they need to make more almost everybody type people, so we can have a world not at war.
Yeah.
So you were helping in getting rid of black people?
Well, that's the thing. A lot. So like, I feel like they're trying to suggest that some black people will truly believe, like, if we assimilate to white culture, white people, then there won't be any issue, because we'll be just like them. We'll do everything like we're doing. But we can see Martin Luther King.
Thank you so much for bringing that tie back
but Martin Luther King, we see with all of this that it didn't work.
Yeah.
Like, you like classical music, so they don't care. Like,
so assimilation is not the answer.
It's not the answer. But with the original Fontaine, who's like, he's going to find out he's the mastermind behind all these clones of these black people and these horrible menaces to society, and they're doing these experiments. It's a black man, and he's genuinely creating a whole new race of people, but they're white with nappy hair, essentially. Like,
and also, you always have to point back with these African American movies.
Yeah.
That there's always a nigga that sold out the niggas.
Yeah.
There's always a when we're talking about the system, there's always that one person who benefits the most from selling somebody out. And then it all like all of that. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I like how they tied in the story, because the thing is, a lot of people who believe in assimilation do have good intentions. His brother had died from gang violence, so in his mind, it was a black man, that hurt his brother, or whatever. So you have that anger, and you want to figure out how to.
I needed that question to be answered the whole movie.
Yeah.
I wanted to know why the brother died. The brother died of gang violence, which is why the old man version of him said, "What happened to Ronnie will never happen again." Because he was trying to whiten everybody, so there would be no gangs. Oh, okay.
It's crazy.
Oh, this movie was so layered and so political, and I'm just so not up to par.
But I feel like it needed to be, because, like, I feel like that's the point. I feel like that sometimes just saying it, like you do in like a documentary or a drama. Again, I love comedy, even with just like the sci-fi comedy, like all being mixed together. You can get. I feel like you can say it in so many ways, but having a sci-fi, like having something so outlandish
Mm-hmm.
and grandiose, be the like background, it kind of makes you hone in on those smaller things like racism.
Mm-hmm.
It makes racism seem so small where you can focus on it, like okay, and like I feel like digest it better.
Yeah, that's true. That's true because we was worried about some other shit.
Like why is like why do you think it's cloned? Why
Okay.
is everything going on? You know.
So this is something also I need to talk about
Mhm.
because I have a problem with this.
Mhm.
So like Jamie Foxx, right? And who's the guy that you said the one that played the pastor?
David Allen Greer.
David Allen Greer.
Mhm.
And now I'm gonna bring up Damon Wayans.
Yeah.
All of these men, they play these silly roles in
Mhm.
movies now.
Mhm.
So we just watched Cinnamon, and we saw Damon Wayans in there, and he was doing this whole outlandish character with
Like
an
Pimp S.
accent.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you get Jamie Foxx coming in there talking all smooth and fast because he's a pimp. And it's like, I don't know. I feel so weird watching these characters because
Mhm.
it's so like animated.
Mhm.
And I know that that's what they were going for.
Mhm.
But when it comes down to the whole comedic thing that you were kind of talking
Mhm.
about, I don't care for that comedy
Mhm.
character. Like, give me characters that we're really going to see. Like, if he's a pimp, why does he have to be a funny pimp?
Mhm.
Why did Jamie Foxx have to be funny and
Mhm.
talk like that? And like this whole like comedic bit. Now I love it.
Mhm.
I thought it was funny, but I also could have used. Wow, I feel like I just agreed with you from the first thing that you said. I also. Oh my gosh! I also could have
Mhm.
used more seriousness. Yeah, I didn't necessarily need to see Jamie Foxx being a smooth
Mhm.
pimp with his cuticles cut, but it was
Yeah.
good and it added some like black people. We gotta
Mhm.
laugh. It did add that for me, but yeah.
Well, I think it's important because, like, again, like that we do. I feel like the movie did examine those. Like, we examine these typical, stereotypical roles of black people. Like, usually, say black women are a prostitute, a Jezebel,
Mm-hmm.
dark skinned black women, especially, or women in general. But and then you have like the kind of like Sambo, like dumb black character, which is Jamie Foxx, weird pimp. But then you also have your black brute, which are today modern days like usually your gang member, like your
Mm-hmm.
which is Fontaine, John Boyega's
Wow, you
character.
really done studied some films.
Well, because
Now you're doing good.
so we see like that you have that we have these characters that we have to continuously play, and obviously again we use them in like comedic ways still. You can but like so we can get the point across. But I feel like we will get to a point where we don't have to keep going with these stereotypes. And I think we're exploring that with some of the movies we've seen so far, like seeing different movies of like people,
Mm-hmm.
and getting into enjoying just a human experience.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, it's all it brings up like that really hard idea of like having the black gaze because obviously I'm going to always have that black gaze,
Mm-hmm.
but like focusing on the more common gaze, which is the human, like you
Yeah.
being a human being. But I mean, I think it's a beautiful thing that we can still dissect it and have like something that's uniquely black, but we do have to get past those caricatures at some point. Like
Yeah.
we don't need every pimp to be, hey man, what's going on? I'm gonna slap a
Yeah.
my pimp hand is strong.
And I can't believe that we used to laugh at that stuff. Like when I watch like Friday or then Friday After Next, I'm just like, wow, I used to really laugh at this. And like, people laugh at like characters that we just wouldn't find funny nowadays. I guess like the generation has turned and we all have like a dry sense of humor. But like, I don't really fuck with it.
But this is a harder question. But what would you like to see, like instead? Because like I understand, like again, everybody has like those caricatures, but since we're trying to get more, I don't know. I feel like that brings drama because you have to have something where you're gonna be more over the top.
There's just
with
a layer of
characters.
cheesiness that he
Yeah,
didn't have to have.
true.
He could have just been a pimp and like because this is the character
Yeah,
that they were requiring.
yeah.
He could have just been a pimp. He didn't need to be a fast talking character from some sly town. Like it didn't need all of that. It could have just been a nigga who was charming that played it. You know what I mean? Like one thing about Insecure, I just brought up a different show. I just picked it up and brought it over
Let's
here.
bring it in now because I want.
One thing about her show is that like every character you meet is just like authentically them. No one's like too over the top. Like maybe the Crip nigga, but then again, from LA, he's not too over the top. He is absolutely on point, which makes it funnier for us.
Because I got cousins that act just like him. But
period. So when you think about shows like that, it's like they're giving you an authentic version of, oh,
Mhm.
this is what this type of nerdy guy looks
Mhm.
like, and this is what this type of husband looks like, and
Mhm.
they're giving you a taste of these men, and they're different, but they're believable.
Mhm.
But the thing I don't like is that layer of cheese they put on
Mhm.
top of Jamie Foxx, and they put on top of Damon Wayans, and they put on top of all these other male actors to make them funnier. It's kind of like, it reminds me of Martin when you
Mhm.
see Shanae. It's
Mhm.
like, why did you guys feel like you had to do this version
Mhm.
of us?
Mhm.
I feel like when they go into that little stereotypical character, I feel like who are you doing
Mhm.
this for? Are you doing this because you think black people think it's funny, or you
Mhm.
think white people think it's
Well, it's
funny?
also the easier laugh. Like
Yeah,
somebody
it's
acting.
cheap.
Yeah, I agree.
But I love the movie though. Don't
Mhm.
get me wrong, I did love it,
Yeah,
and I
but I think it's okay to also examine, like, that's why we get to sit here and really think about what we want to see, and like, because it just prompts up like what we can see in the future,
right,
and how we can, like, perfect our art,
right.
because it's so important. Like, the thing is, like, that's why I love seeing the way that in the direction that black cinema is going, because I feel like it's so articulate now, and
Mm-hmm.
like I feel like it's just done so well. Like, we didn't get to talk about it yet, but like the lighting, seeing purple and dark greens and blues on black skin more in film, is just like,
Mm-hmm.
it's just so beautiful to see,
Yeah.
because we didn't get to we grew up literally not seeing this.
And the reason being is that there were so many white people behind cameras in
Hmm.
the movies that we grew up with.
Hmm.
They didn't think to test our skin with
Hmm.
purple or pink lights. Do you know what I mean? Like that whole parking lot scene where he's walking across, it's literally so
Hmm.
beautiful.
Hmm.
The sky's all dusky, but you can't really tell what time it is, and
Hmm.
everything in that scene is basically pink or purple or a shade or a hue of
Hmm.
it. And it's beautiful to see our skin in that light. It's beautiful just to see us reflected that way, but it's something that we've never got because we didn't have black directors, and now
Exactly.
we have us. So now we're on there and we're making vivid pictures.
Hmm.
And I think that in the past, white people didn't know they could be so expressive with black
Hmm.
people. They didn't know that they can do XYZ with our hair and our style, and like maybe
Hmm.
they just didn't, maybe they just weren't aware. But we're finally getting some black people in some places, and we
Hmm.
can actually see us at our full potential.
Well, I
Like
also
as far
think
as like,
because some people are we're so used to assimilating, like, you're pressing your hair, so they want to see you seeing hairstyles that you usually do on black people, when
mm-hmm.
you can do so much more with what you can do with your hair, than what they usually see,
Right.
um,
Right, for years we didn't see the black girls with the style, the braided
or the
styles
two
and
little
stuff
my
like
favorite
that.
little two puffs. That's my favorite.
I mean, the girls are girling, and we're starting to see
Dude.
all of the styles now. And like
Hmm.
growing up, we did not see none of
Hmm.
this. It was like, okay, they were like Claire Huxtable. This season she's got short hair. Last season she had
Yeah,
a little mullet thing with the
no.
bangs. I mean, you get what you get, and
Yeah.
that's how black people was really doing their shit. But now we're seeing
Hmm.
everything. We're like, wow.
Well, I just think as we continue to evolve the genre,
Hmm.
well, not just genre, as we just continue to evolve black art, we will see it become, more. And I don't want to sound like bougie, but it will have like a higher caliber of what we see,
Hmm.
So again, I'm not justifying, because I agree with you as far as, like, like the little coon characters, like, yeah, man, I'm going. Because one of our friends said, like, that was the same character we saw in Django, which I was
Hmm.
like, I started cracking. I was like, for real, you brought Django here. But I feel like, as we start to see ourselves even as a higher caliber of people, we will, like, those stereotypes will start to dwindle, because you've seen it in just in film in general, how acting has gotten better, way more believable. Like, obviously the way we shoot is way more believable. I think
Hmm.
it just comes with the territory, and then also because a lot of us younger people, we don't like to put up with the we don't like to put up, like, with the typical stereotypical, like, fried chicken jokes all the time, like
Yeah.
that. Like, my family will still crack up at it, our older relatives, and
Okay.
I'm not mad at them. Like,
There is
that's
a
literally.
generation. There's a generational split because my parents will still laugh at Tyler Perry movies, and I live offended. I'm like, I can't believe y'all watching this. Everything with it is just so there's a line and it's hard.
I mean, but
We're not the
it's
same.
because our ideas have evolved. Like, black people were just happy to see people on TV back then. Like,
Yeah.
literally, like, when I hear, like, my great aunts or my mother talk about, like, different people coming on, you're just like, they were just excited to see a Negro up there.
Hmm.
So, like, now that we actually get to see whole movies, whole shows with black people, and black people doing excellent things, not just being, like, a maid, or just a drug dealer or anything.
Hmm.
I feel like we get to experience, like, we have so much.
We have our own joy.
We're a little bit more bougie.
Yeah, we have higher standards. Like they're
As
like,
we should.
they're like, yay, a black person on TV. We're gonna watch and support it.
Mhm.
And our generation's like, yay, a black person's on TV that I like and believe in their values. It's just different. It's different generations. Facts.
I feel like you're giving a little judgment. Like just
No. I mean, like, all I'm saying is that I wish my parents didn't support Tyler Perry so much. You know, but like also I'm happy someone's supporting him because we need more black people with money.
And he has, but again, I'm not saying I agree with everything Tyler Perry does, and I'm not a Tyler Perry apologist, but I will say that he has, one of the biggest studios.
You apologizing for him right now?
No, I'm not. Well, I'm saying he has a black-owned movie studio. Like I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest. So it's like crazy, and it's done on top of Confederate, plantation. So I say
reparations. Yeah, essentially. I mean, like, I've never been. I've been to certain studios in California that are easier and better to access because they care about their fan base and want to make things accessible. I'm not sure exactly why Tyler Perry won't make things more accessible for his fan base. You got all this land. You can't have.
And he employs lots and lots of artists.
I don't need a job. I want a day where I can come up there and paint some things, watch a movie, and get some snacks. Okay,
like
you need to talk. You need to talk to Ava, Tyler.
Absolutely.
Step up your game. Step it up because I'm trying to have experiences with my future filmmaker husband. Anyways, sorry, off track.
No, but I feel like it's really important to talk about. That's why this movie is so important. They Cloned Tyrone.
Yeah, it's important because they finally are allowing us. We're finally stepping into another genre, and I'm so excited to see how we're gonna make it so much better. Because their sci-fi, white people sci-fi is cool. Star Trek out of space, like we live in. But black sci-fi is like, okay, let's start you off in the hood. Let's give you something and make it realistic. Let's throw some curveballs in there based on some true stories because white people were experimenting on black people. We were their test subjects, So like the sad, unfortunate part is that the wild, crazy stories that white people would create for their sci-fi it's really our history.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, it's really things that we actually suffered and endured through. That's why it's harder for black people to have a sci-fi genre, I think. We've already been through so much shit
that's unbelievable. You were like, this can't be.
Could you imagine they made a sci-fi movie about slavery? Like, oh my God, no, slaves, my whole life. This is crazy, but like, this is our reality. So we're already living in a tough situation. And I think that for us to go into the sci-fi genre, I think we have to be graceful about it. And I love the way that they started off. And again, I'm going to say reclaiming because white people, that's who the they is I'm referring to. They want us to be cogs in the system to compete, to repeat the same cycle of basically oppressing ourselves so we continue doing the work. And this movie is basically telling people, hey, you might be a cog in your system. Why don't you step outside that role that you're currently participating in and do something different so you can really change the world?
Exactly.
So I'm happy that this came out. I'm happy that this genre exists now. And I'm excited to see where we go with it. I hope we get more sci-fi, less reality. Yeah. And with that, less comedy. Yeah. More sci-fi, more drama.
Well, yeah. And not necessarily just like
our shit gonna be way cooler than white people shit, though. Because we always going to be in touch.
I feel like it's just going to be some things that we just never seen before. And they're going to have to give credit.
Yeah. To the black creators. Because it'll be the black creators making it with black creators. Yeah. The times have changed. Times have changed, white people.
They are changing.
We wish you well. We we won't enslave you. We're not monsters. But,
Oh, no, there's a quote that said, I can't say who said it, but they say they should be happy black people just want reparations and not revenge.
Yeah, period. Be the easiest takedown. White people depend on us for everything. If white people were like, I'm going to take the white man down, like, we could really do it. Okay. That's enough.
She got political.
Oh my God.
No, but in all seriousness, I feel like this is a movie that everybody needs to see. I feel like for black people, you get to see yourself. White people, you get to learn something. And everybody else in between, you're still learning too. You're not forgotten.
Yeah. Lots of laughing.
Because they did mention that they do the same thing in Chinatown and the barrios, like different things. So
yeah, he said that he did say that.
So so what's happening to black people can happen to anybody. I really feel like
we're all victims. So everybody get together with everybody and stay strong.
No, but again, great acting. I feel like a really, really strong script. I feel like what every character was saying was believable. Coming from them, like besides comedy aside, like besides like acting, I feel like the things that they were saying though
Wait. Did you
made
notice
sense.
something? This is funny because I hope others out there noticed it. So when the host was relaying the messages, right? I hope you caught this. And they were like 10,000. He was like 10,000 shoot him, and she was like, yeah. And by the time the message got back,
Yeah,
it
it
was
was 30,000.
30,000 because they was both getting 10 each.
She's choking him out his money,
The prostitutes, they was like they was on it. I'm just saying, I
and
was
as they should though.
in that moment. I was like, this is some nigga shit because we always gonna take something off the top. How much do you want at the top?
That is so not
It is.
That's some prostitute stuff.
No, I think that's some nigga shit. We all trying to benefit. We're all trying to benefit, so we're all gonna take 10 off the top.
Well, I feel like anybody should know when an opportunity arises.
When it knocks,
you should take the opportunity.
You answer.
No, but definitely, this is. I'm so glad this came out. I'm so glad to be able to see it, and I just feel like you all should give it a check. Check it out. It's on Netflix.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. They clone Tyrone. Jamie Foxx is in it, and
Tiana Paris.
Yep, Tiana Paris.
Is it John Boyega? How do you say
John Boyega?
Boyega. I always want to say it's Boyega.
That's bae. Also, check out that scene in the elevator, the first one where they're wearing the red, the yellow, and the green. That was all symbolic for
the Pan African. I wanted to talk about that earlier. Yes, it's very, very intentional.
My pleasure. Yeah,
very intentional.
Because we're out here making statements. We're out here being black and great.
And for the first time, I'm not gonna be mad that there's a British actor playing an American character. I'm totally fine with it. No complaints here.
I think actors are supposed to act. So sounds like he just did his job another day. So good. Well, again, what Cameron said, check out this film. It was an awesome movie. We loved it. We think you'll love it too.
Absolutely.
Thanks again for watching another episode of the Black Cinema Experience. I'm your girl, JB. Oh my God.
Oh, she didn't even say it, but it's okay. JB. And I'm Cameron. We're so glad that you like our show. Like, subscribe, share, and we'll see you next week.
That's good.